Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today's episode is our year in review for 2022.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we have our usual host of hosts, Worshipful Brother Stephen Chung of Prince Charles number 153 in Kelowna, British Columbia, Worshipful Brother Jarrod Dunham of Penticton 147 in Penticton, British Columbia, the Grinch. I'm Matt Appel, and I'm the secretary of Mill Creek number 243 in Montlake Terrace, Washington. And we also have with us Worshipful Master David Colbeth, who's the
Senior Warden, one more year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Slow your roll there. Slow your roll.
Oh, well, never mind then. Some other guy named David Colbeth, who is a member of King Solomon number 60 in Auburn, Washington.
He's number 2.
At least then I feel less bad about missing your installation. So
I can't make it go any faster, Captain.
You cannot change the laws of physics.
The lithium crystals? Oh dear, the episode's got off the rails already. So in an effort to wrap up the year, we sort of each looked at the list of episodes that we have discussed, or list of episodes we've issued this year, and chosen a few favorites to talk about. So at random, I will choose the jolliest looking among us. Oh, never mind. I will choose the not worshipful master among us. And David, do you have thoughts on your favorite episode?
It's okay. You were just, it's like Hollywood Squares. Whoever makes the most noise or crazy noise gets paid attention to, right? No, I wanted to, I'm sure all of them will say that, of course, a lot of our shows are our favorites. And the more we do this, the more every show, as I was going through, how in the world am I going to pick one of these? And I kind of chatted in the group to y'all, and that the ones that I really enjoyed were the post-show discussions. We just got off a post-show discussion that we were just rambling on about, and there's so much great, interesting content in there. Now, a lot of it's not editable. It's just, but those discussions where we're talking about something and then we kind of relax and just meeting after the meeting, the whole idea behind the show, I really enjoyed those. A couple of them were a little desperate pleas there, but most of them, those post-show discussions are really cool because, I think we're our guards down and we're just being honest with each other and talking about things that kind of come up, and sometimes they ramble a little bit, but that's how things are. That's who we are, and I hopefully people enjoy those post-show discussions. What do you guys think of those? I really enjoyed those.
Well, I don't know. I take offense to that rambling a bit. I don't know any one of us that particularly rambles very long,
Okay, next.
Right. I did enjoy those. I didn't pick those as my favorites, but I did enjoy the casual conversations that we have, and often turn into episodes, which I think that's pretty cool in itself, right? Anybody else got anything on that one? No? I know Jarrod's just bursting to, tell us about the one that he thinks is his favorite.
Oh, well, actually my favorite, mine's a two-parter.
Two-parter.
My favorite one was the one that stemmed from David's looking at our aprons and going, "Oh, those rosettes have got to have a meaning." I
laughed at that. I really enjoy the show because I constantly, when I'm watching, I do it, of course, when I'm editing all the time. I'm laughing and enjoying, and I find it. But yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, like, going through and rewatching some of these shows, it just, even now I laugh when we're doing them, and then. But yeah, the two-parter on the Masonic aprons, I really enjoyed that one because I was like, well, it sent me down the rabbit hole of research that I like to do to desperately trying to find a symbolic meaning for the rosettes, and no, bum kiss.
But they sure are pretty.
They are.
Yeah, I thought, I did enjoy the apron one because, at one point I didn't pay attention to aprons. And I know it all had to do with rank and everything else. And I was like, no, everybody's brother. And so I never paid attention to the apron. So the apron one was educational. Let's put it that way. So I did enjoy that factor.
I see. I'm a good son of Britain. I really love nothing is more fun for me than to look at what someone's wearing and go, okay, what order are they part of? What rank in that order are they? And I love aprons. Like and then the breast jewels and everything. It's like, oh yeah, it's Masonic bingo for me.
Bingo.
Yeah, I got to collect them all.
We had one of our, I was at installation on Saturday afternoon, and the master there that was going out had been master 4 times. This was his 4th time at 4 different lodges, just as that's the way his career has taken him. And the most recent past master's apron hadn't arrived yet. Logistics, of course, in this post-pandemic state. And he said, I do have a really beautiful past master's apron that was custom made and beautifully bordered and has a rounded bottom. And I could wear, we all laughed because those have been outlawed essentially in Washington. So we all had a good laugh at that. There's only one lodge in our state that I think has those, and Matt may or may not know. Had those, not has them, because they're not allowed to wear them anymore. But it was a fun. I'm actually a little bit surprised he didn't wear it. I thought maybe he would wear it that day, but he didn't wear it.
Yeah, I guess to go back a bit, I agree that the post-show discussion shows are certainly, they're looser. They're a little more fun to just sort of talk about. If you're not into the discipline of the rigor of reading articles or whatever the hard stuff is that we do here. But no, they are fun. I have to agree with that. But so I guess Jarrod's the only one who actually named an episode, though. David, did you actually have an episode beyond I Like to Talk?
Yeah, so for me, it's a little bit of a toss-up between the 2-part 24-inch gauge and the 2-part columns. I think they both, we look at I think for me, the columns probably were a little more favorable because, kind of like Steve said, he doesn't look at the aprons anymore. I don't really look at the aprons anymore either. And not to keep yammering on about aprons, but we do love them. And just another thing popped in my head. We always wear the officers' aprons in our lodge if you're an officer instead of our whatever other aprons we have. And we just made a new Mason honorary past master, and he was just taken aback. And so he's so, like a kid, he's so excited, wants to wear his past master's apron, but we installed him as an officer, and he's like, so when do I get to put my past master's apron on? And we're like, well, you wear your officer's apron right now, but our master decided that this year we're going to just be a little more loose. And if you want to wear a past master's apron instead of your officer apron, you can do that. But he was excited about that. So it's just things we take it granted that are in the lodge room during the meetings that we don't really pay attention to. I never really thought about the columns, and I'd kind of forgotten about that show. And as I was listening to him again, I thought, oh man, there is so much. I was actually thinking that'd be a cool presentation. There's a lot of meat available here. We could make a paper and a presentation and talk about columns. And I was thinking, one of the things I had forgotten about was, I don't know where I must have read it because I'm not that smart to come up with it, that the columns may have been representative of ourselves as humans, as Masons, that the idea that we're empty, the columns being empty, is actually allegorical, that we as Masons, we come in kind of empty and we're filled with knowledge and filled with charity and things like that to become Masons, if you will. And so it was interesting to re-listen to that, and hopefully it'll spur me to go back and listen to other shows too, and be reminded of things that we looked at and listened to and talked about.
Steve, did you have a?
You were unmuted and muted.
Yeah. No, I didn't have anything to add to that. I was going to, pull Matt because, I could see his brain was working through those glasses.
Yeah, you can see through the glare of my light up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that one. That actually made you talking about that made me think about the Silence and Solemnity episode. I just in looking at the title of the episode, I immediately could conjure up those pictures that we that were a part of that, of the bronze of the woman with her finger in front of her mouth with the shushing sort of motion, and that was definitely an episode that stuck with me a lot. Although it wasn't on my list of 5, so there you go. Now you've already made me throw my list out the window. Thanks.
I have to remember that even though Spotify has video now, we're all here nodding our heads like chickens. And
I told you, all the episodes are good. Damn it, we are fine podcasters.
Yeah, we are. Hell yeah.
We are.
Right, your Grinch is showing.
What was that? What?
That's coming from the Grinch calling us good. That's either we were great or we're terrible.
Oh,
one or the other.
listening to you two talk, my heart grew 3 sizes tonight.
Well, speaking of hearts growing, it takes me to my one on my list, and yeah, it'll probably end up being my top favorite of the year, but attire in lodge, right? And really more so because of the circumstances around that,
It's only because you got your picture on the icon. That's why.
I figured it was because I wasn't there. That's why it was his favorite.
No. You were sadly missed that day. We were sad without you, but no, the whole experience behind the episode, or the reason for the episode and whatnot, it was very heartwarming and very well, personally anyways, for me, it was very touching for me, like being really dragged to lodge in what I thought was inappropriate attire, but was told
clear, it was not drag attire that he was in. He used the word drag to lodge and inappropriate attire, but they were not the same thing.
George flip flops and a t-shirt, right? And
drag attire would have been more appropriate. At least it would have been formal.
Yeah, right. But just to be to know that they really wanted me there bad enough to tell me to come without what I thought was proper dress. I thought that was pretty cool and touching. So yeah, I'd have to say that one would probably be my favorite. But it's hard because as I was going through the episodes, and I'm like, man, I got to pick 1 or 2 or 5 of these and put them on a list. But I don't know, I enjoy them so much and the educational ones, or they've been enlightening. That those ones have been right at the top of the list. But and we do so many, like Jarrod says, they're all pretty darn good. Especially the ones where all 4 of us are there.
Yep, I agree.
Yep.
We're pretty good. The one that's actually top of my list was I only bring this up because I think it's part of the theme here. What was at the top of my list was the Perfect Ashler episode we did early in the year. Yeah. And honestly, so you guys were you all sort of just said that the reason why you liked an episode that you liked was because of something outside of the episode that happened, and with your attire or whatever. And it was sort of the same thing with this. We were contacted by another brother shortly after this episode went out, who just emailed us and said, hey, I watched your episode and it came at a time in my life when I needed to hear this, and thank you guys. And I just found that really touching, and that it was that knowing that made the episode better for me later on, I guess. So again, something that wasn't on the episode but made it better, in my opinion.
Yeah, not for a shameless plug on comments, but I do appreciate those too. The messages we hear and the comments that we get on YouTube or other places, Facebook and things, those really do help us to understand and connect and know what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, and they're heartfelt and heartwarming. And so we of course, this is a labor of love. We're not getting paid yet. And so anything Jarrod, surprised? Are you getting paid and we don't know about it?
Wait, I'm not being paid? Well, that's it. I'm out of here.
The wages of a podcaster are... We do have one sponsor on Anchor FM, don't we?
We do.
I'll call him out. I hope he doesn't mind. But very worshipful brother Kurt Gazow, who's
hey,
yeah, we thank you, sir.
Yay.
He's gonna go, what? I'm the only one.
No, we shouldn't have let that out the bag. But he's
maybe it'll inspire more, right? But I do agree with David's comment there with respect to the comments that people send us. Did you see that latest one where the guy was actually so taken with our episode that he wrote his own definitions and submitted that paper? Did you see that, David?
I don't think I did. If that's something we should probably do a little better job of, is making if you respond to something, it goes away and I don't see it. So
it's in an email he sent us.
Okay. We can come back to it.
Yeah. But it was about the gratitude, which is, of course, that one's on my list as well. But he didn't quite see it the same way, and so he did his own research. It caused him to think about the topic so deeply that he did a bunch of research, wrote his own paper, his own educational paper for his lodge, and got to present that at his lodge, right? Oh, nice. And he sent it to us.
Was his last name Dunham?
No. But I'll find it in a minute here. But he sent it to us, and it was a very good read. He did a lot of in-depth Dunham type stuff, and went down that rabbit hole and found very interesting points to bring up. And so I thought it was pretty good. I actually sent it to my district deputy grand master and said, if you're looking for an education piece at one point, I'd be happy to present this, right? So the fact that it made somebody contemplate the topic that much, I thought was incredible. And then he was gracious enough to share it with us. And I haven't finished my review of it, if you will, but I will get back to him by email and thank him for that and communicate with him as soon as I'm done, looking at it and really understanding what he was getting at, right? But to know that our podcast, our labor of love here is having that type of effect out there is pretty cool, right? David, did you have a second episode that you really wanted to mention?
As I said, I think the 24-inch gauge was probably my next most favorite. It was so hard to choose, but the notes that I made about that was that we have time, but we choose how to spend it.
Right.
And that was very, very true. And I guess again, it reminded me that and I think Jarrod said that point. We have the time. It's just how we choose and want to spend the time. And we say, "Oh, I don't have time." Well, we do. We all have the same 24 hours.
Yep.
It just depends on how you want to.
It's not that you don't have time; you just don't want to. And it's in all honesty, it's perfectly fine to say that too. Like we have to be. That's part of. We have to be accepting that if someone should be able to say to us, "Nah, I don't think so. I don't want to do that."
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
learned how to say no yet. Apparently, as we just made in the notes there recently.
Well, you've had children. You should be good at this by now.
Yeah. I practiced that for a long time, but it wasn't very successful. They still came home years later.
And then Matt went on to say later that, someone stole your money, you'd probably defend yourself. If someone tried to steal your land or your property, you would defend your property. But people steal our time all the time, and we often don't defend it like we should. You can usually get more stuff or more money, but you can't ever get more time. And
So true.
Who said that?
I wrote it down as Matt. Maybe that was you. Was that your quote?
No, it wasn't me.
I thought it was
I'll
Matt.
let Matt have that one.
No,
If he
Matt,
said that,
Matt.
well done.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
thoughtful.
Well, to be
Very
fair, I copped
deep,
it from another
Matt.
podcast. So there's another podcast I listened to. There's a guy who talks about that. It's actually a quote from a ancient Greek, I think, Stoic philosopher. This other guy on a Daily Stoic podcast quotes a lot.
Well, that's good. It was timely, and the where it comes from doesn't really matter. It was accurate, and very deep, right? But there's often times that I realize that afterwards that oh man, I could have done better use of that time. But and then there's often the times where I'm thinking I've got all this work to do. I made all these commitments. I said yes, and I'm not doing a very good job of managing my time, right? Well, letting it be managed for me by others in that sense, right?
You haven't learned the lesson of the 24-inch gauge yet.
Right. I've learned that there's 24 hours in a day to give to Freemasonry.
Excellent.
Right. And but it's interesting. Here I thought I totally pooched a session as the director of ceremonies for one of those funny Canadian installations. And then I got home and I got a message from another guy who's going to be installed in the new year, and he says, man, you got to do my installation. You got to be the DFC for my installation. I'm like, really? I pooched it that bad, and somebody asked me to do it right fresh from that, But it was one of those things that I had so many things on the go that night. I did a lot of work that night, and so, anyways, that's a whole other topic. But it does kind of lead me into listing one of the other episodes on my list, which was Ritual in Freemasonry, right? Because I do really enjoy it, and so maybe that's why I don't mind when people load up my plate for a night. As long as I've done the work before, I don't really mind. But to do 5 pieces in a night, 5 of the major pieces, was pretty cool, because I aced the rest of them, right? And I do enjoy. Actually, you know what I get the most charge out of doing that is like when I'm doing the address to the brethren, and I can see in the eyes of all the brethren on the sidelines, they're paying attention, they're listening intently to what the message that's being delivered, right? I know that I'm doing my job well when they're not looking at their notices and they're not looking at their iPhones and their eyes are glued to what's being presented, right? And it makes me feel really good. So, I get a charge out of doing that. So, yeah, the Ritual in Freemasonry was my next one on the list for that reason. Well, that was one of the reasons of them anyways.
Here. So I feel like we're
on your list there, Matt.
I was going to say, I feel like we're have more to discuss and not much more time. So maybe we will wrap up and make this one of our. Oh, we should make 2 episodes about that. Episodes. And
we've never done that. What are you talking about?
nothing like
I did get
on the fly.
I did had other comments from people saying that they do enjoy our shortened format, if you call it, 30 minutes ish. And so they do appreciate that because they have a feeling that, okay, we know how long it's going to be. It's not going to be hours, it's not going to be an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. There's some great podcasts out there that go long and have great long format shows. But I've also heard the positive comments about a little more concise information.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially when they're commuting, right? They only have so much time, and to be able to get it all in one listen is really what people are wanting. So yeah, I get the same comments a lot.
And totally, if I could choose a word to describe the four of us, concise would be right at the top of the list. And on that note, so as we've all just said, interacting with you all is one of the best parts of this. You, our listeners, not you, the other three guys I can see on my screen here. And we really value your input. We're very glad that we get to do this. I for one it makes my week brighter, and it's something that I choose to spend my time on because it brings me value. So thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you to my fellow hosts here this evening. And we look forward to talking to you all again very soon on the Working Tools Podcast. Goodbye.